working on. So I'm going to come in close with these. So what's already been done with these cups that I'm going to show you. So I sanded them. They were stainless steel, sanded them down really well. And then you wipe them off with wipe them down with acetone. And then wash them off with the Dawn dish detergent. And then we bring them outside, we spray paint them. So this one we had black on the bottom, red on the top, and then we're ready for glitter. So we glittered it, and you could see after we glittered it, we put a flood coat on. So now we are at the point where we need to sand this puppy down and make it nice and smooth. So if you could see, I used the chunky glitter on this, and if you can see kind of the bumps from the glitter. When I was first learning how to do tumblers, a lot of folks would be like, yeah, you just go and I'm going to go and sand this down and we'll come back and it'll be nice and smooth and we'll put some epoxy on it. And I'm sanding these with sandpaper and just like sanding the heck out of them, right? And it took forever and my arm is so tired. And then I was on one group and somebody was asking what kind of sander to buy, and somebody posted a picture of this like car sander that could use as a buffer, and you have to use two hands to sand it, and I'm like, that's never gonna work. So I got to thinking, I'm like, I've got a little orbital sander and I wonder if that would work. So let's give it a try. I can hold my cup with one hand and pick up my sander and sand the cup. So cross my fingers and you know, said a few prayers and hoped I wouldn't screw up the cup, and lo and behold found out that it was so much easier to take a little power tool to the delicate tumbler and just get it super smooth. So I'm going to show you all how I do that. I've got my N100 mask. So with epoxy, I don't do it when I'm sharing these lives, but when I'm doing epoxy and spray paint, I always have my mask on because I don't want to breathe in all that crap. And then also while I'm sanding, I'm definitely going to use the mask so that I'm not breathing in all of the resin that's going to come off of that. I'll show you a couple other cups. Mrs. Lint, this is one of your cups. We're going to do like a beach theme on this, but on this one we use the finer glitter. So the chunkier glitters, you see that they're a lot more rough, but this, even to touch, it's still pretty rough. Won't need as much sanding as the other one, but we're still going to sand it down. Another one, so this one was half chunky and half fine glitter, so you could tell the difference. Like this super smooth here, but then up here we're going to have to put some work into getting that smooth so that we can have a nice finish. And then the other two, Mrs. Lint, your other cup, hopefully you like this. Custom mix. So I mixed all of these glitters myself based on what the customer had in mind. But this mix of chunky and fine glitter, you could see some of those razor blade like edges on it that I'd be sanding forever. And then this one won't have too much work. There's not too much sticking up, but still needs some sanding. So if you guys are ready, we'll get to it. So any questions before I start? Oh, Mrs. Lynn, I'm so glad you like the colors. I'm still working on your third one. So, all right, so this is where we get dirty, right? Because this mask is incredibly hot and it's 86 degrees out here in the driveway. Had to come out here because it's way too hot in the garage. Plus I didn't want to get all the sanding in where we're going to be doing epoxy. So, look how cute. All right, you ready? Hi, Maria, thank you. Hey, Kristen. So Maria, this is one of yours. So you'll get to see, we're going from pretty and we're going to get a little bit ugly here for a minute. So I should mention before I start, on this orbital sander, I'm using a 100 grit sandpaper. It's a little bit worn because I've used it for a couple other cups, but it'll sand these down pretty smooth. Here we go. All right, so that's the first one, and you could see these are not in any pretty shape whatsoever. So what you just saw me do was more so going around the cup for feel rather than sight. I'm feeling as I'm sanding because it still may look a little bit bumpy, and it is bumpy, but when we put the epoxy on, all of that will level out. And that's important because once we go to put decals on, every time you put a decal on and it's not perfectly smooth, I think I've got epoxy in my eye. If it's not perfectly smooth, you're going to see those bumps under the decals. So try and sand it down really good. We'll put the epoxy on, and then we may or may not need to sand it again before we put the decals on. The other thing that you saw me do is I went around the edge really well, because if the customer is going to use this and not use it with a lid, I don't want them to have any type of roughness around the edge, because we're glittering all the way up to the edge of it. So that's the first cup. Again, getting dirty today, and this looks really, really ugly right now. And the other ones are going to look a little bit ugly too, but don't fear. The next step that we're going to walk through tonight is I want to show you guys, once we put epoxy on it, literally the magic of epoxy and how this comes back to life when we put that epoxy back on it. So let me get to sanding the others, and then we'll get back in the garage and get some epoxy flowing. a little bit dusty. So you could see, you know, somewhat of the process that I go through to try and make something amazing for all of you. So we're gonna go back into the garage and get these cups ready for some epoxy. All right. All right, so we are back in the garage. And hi Amanda, hi Amy, Helen, Lori, Casey, thank you all for joining. Tammy, Jessica, Holly, thank you guys for coming. Check it out. I finally made myself a cup. Remember a couple weeks ago I was like, I'm the only cup maker who's never made herself a cup yet. So I decided to make myself a 30-ounce skinny, my favorite blue color with the Punkinworks logo. All right. So now what we're going to do, we're going to wipe these down. I want to get any of the epoxy sanding residue off. So I'm going to use rubbing alcohol. We want to get these nice and clean so that we could get the epoxy on it. I like the rubbing alcohol too because it dries fast. So by the time we've got the epoxy mixed, these will be nice and ready to go. I absolutely love this purple. So this purple is a mix of an iridescent, light, chunky purple, a dark, fine glitter, a light, fine purple glitter, and it also has silver holographic stars mixed in. You guys, once you see this under epoxy, after we've gotten all the sanding and everything done, it's going to just be so shiny and sparkly and gorgeous. And this cup has my favorite rose gold pinkish color, and probably the perfect Tiffany color if you like that little blue box. And I think that they're an amazing complement to each other. And that was the customer, that was their choice. And I kind of questioned it a little bit, but then I opened the glitters together and thought, yeah, these are gonna look simply amazing. So Amy, we've got your cup almost done. Wait till you see it once we get epoxy on it. Right now it's pretty scuffed from the sanding, but I'm excited to show you guys what happens once we put epoxy on. And then this cup, this one's gonna be beachy. So after we put this coat of epoxy on, we'll actually put another coat of epoxy, and then we'll drizzle mica over top of it to make it look like clouds and waves for the perfect beach cup. All right, so let me get these on some turners. So we're going to be using our go to Pro Marine Epoxy. Yeah, so the funny thing is, when I started making these tumblers, I was watching all types of different YouTubers, and these ladies were making just incredibly amazing cups, and I always really admired how smooth and clean they got the finish. And you know, when I started out, my finish was absolutely not coming out that smooth and clean. And what you don't see on camera is what I showed you guys today. When they say sand it, they really don't mean sand it. You like literally have to sand the shit out of it to get it that smooth. So that's one thing that I had to learn through different trials about making these cups, that it's not just taking a piece of sandpaper and wishing for a nice smooth glass-like finish. You just gotta sand the shit out of them. So there you go. I think sanding is one of my favorite parts of it, because I could take out every single part of the day's frustration. Kids made me mad. I'm gonna sand the shit out of those tumblers tonight. It'll all be good. Burnt dinner, it's okay. I'm gonna sand those tumblers. I'm gonna sand the shit out of them. Alright, so the other tumbler that I wanted to show you guys today is this Pirates tumbler that I'm working on. So this tumbler is a no glitter. Customer wanted a black and yellow ombre, and you've seen me do tons of ombres with the glitter, but I've never done an ombre just with paint before. So I was excited to take on the task, and getting an ombre with spray paint is not the easiest thing. I think I did like 5 different coats just to get the ombre perfect, to where it had a really nice blend. So what I did on this cup is I prepped it as normal by sanding and then wiping it down with acetone and washing it with Dawn. And then I started spray painting. The black was a black matte Krylon, and the top was a gloss, forget the name of it, maybe like sunflower or something like that, but the gloss yellow. And what I was afraid of is mixing the gloss and the matte. I was afraid that the epoxy wouldn't stick to it because of the gloss paint. So I actually went back in once it was dry and gave it a light spray with clear. And then I put the epoxy over it before I put these decals. And I wanted to show you guys these decals, because I feel like once you put epoxy on a cup, it literally makes it look amazing. So these colors will all get a little bit brighter. They'll just pop out of, just start to jump off the cup really. And there's another decal on the other side that I made as well. But I thought that this would be a good opportunity to show you the magic of epoxy. Alright, so I'm mixing this really well, scraping all the sides, scraping the bottom to get that consistency and that really, really good mix. And I'm gonna just keep mixing until I can feel it getting a little bit warm. That's when we know that the epoxy is starting to react, that we've got a good mix. And then we'll start to throw it on some cups. All right. So that's starting to warm up just a little bit. So let me get my gloves on here. And it's crazy how much supplies have gone up ever since this pandemic. So I was able to get in the past like a box of 200 nitrile exam gloves at Sam's Club for 2 boxes of 200 for like $11 and some change. And of course they've been sold out. So I went on Amazon and I found a box of literally generic plastic gloves that do the job, that were a box of 100 for I think $17. I had to pay for a box of gloves. So it's like crazy how some of these suppliers are taking advantage of a very bad situation. All right. So, I'll show you kind of what that decal looks like. I'll show you the back of it too. So here's the decal before epoxy. Now, let me show you what it looks like with epoxy. Man. So the red, look at the red on his bandana. Do you see how it just really deepens the colors and makes them a lot more vibrant? All right, check it out again. See how it is, and even just look at my finger. Like, you could see the difference in what epoxy does, and it really just makes that color. It's almost like laminating. Like, laminating was my favorite thing to do. Love to laminate. I should have been a teacher. But you could see how it really makes those colors start to deepen and really get very bright and vibrant. So always remember to get the bottom of the cup too. That's just as important. And then we're going to heat this cup up, heat the epoxy up, and get any air bubbles out of it. Once this dries tomorrow evening, I'm going to have to put at least one more coat of epoxy on it, because I want to make sure that it's nice and durable. So after decals, I do at least 2 coats, sometimes 3 coats of epoxy, just to finish it and seal it all up. So the heat gun is going to take out any air bubbles that may be in the epoxy, and it's also going to allow it to when it heats up, it'll allow it to help the self-leveling process of the epoxy. So I try to get all the air bubbles, as many as possible, if there are any, out during this coat. But the one thing that we have is that I know I'm going to put at least 1, maybe 2 more coats of epoxy on. So if I find that there's any rough spots, I'll come back and I'll sand it again. Not with a big sander, just with a piece of sandpaper. And that will take out any of the imperfections, and then smooth it back over with more epoxy. So we'll put that one off to the side. Let's grab these 2. So you could see how, it's kind of dull, and even just going over my finger that has epoxy on it, look how pretty. It just brings that glitter right back to life. So those of you, raise your hand if you were scared when you saw me get out that sander. I know you were scared. I was scared for myself at one point. But check out how pretty that tumbler just comes back to life. All right, let's heat them up. Chrissy, you should absolutely start making some cups. It's so much fun, and the glitter is addicting. Every time I watch a YouTuber and I see the glitters that they're using, I'm like, oh, I need that color. I need that color. I need that color. And it's just all kind of bad. Next thing you know, you've got all these glitters in your cart, and I'm like window shopping. Which ones am I putting back? I'm one of those shoppers. This is when the sanding is so much fun. Like I said, it completely knocks out any bit of stress that you may have had from the day. And you're sanding, you can't hear anybody. Like, I can't hear the kids screaming when I'm sanding. What better is that? Can zone out in my own little world for 10 minutes while the sander's going on. And I think what I like most is, you know, it gets the job done really quick. So much easier than hand sanding with just some sandpaper. And you get really a smooth and flawless finish whenever you get all of the bumps and just imperfections. And you know, it's glitter, especially like the chunky glitter. It can be really, really rough, and can cut you almost. Cut you with my tumbler. Could be a weapon. But sanding, I think, is probably one of the most important parts to get a really, really smooth finish. And you see this cup, once we get that epoxy on, how it just makes the dull from the sanding just go away, and it brings out every bit of holographic purple beautiful color on this cup. For this cup, I'm going to finish it with a name, and I'm going to use a silver holographic vinyl that I have that's going to look really, really pretty. I always like to make sure that I get around the edge really well too, because you saw how I sanded the edge. I want to make sure that the seal with the epoxy is really sturdy around the edges. So I always make sure that I'm going around and covering it really, really good. Another really nice thing about this too is, so I only mixed about 20 mLs of Part A and 20 milliliters of Part B. Typically on like your flood coat, when your glitter's dry, you sprayed it with clear paint, and then you're putting that first layer of epoxy on. It takes a whole ton of epoxy to cover it, and the glitter just really soaks it up. So I've done, this is cup number 5, and with that same 40 milliliters, I'm able to cover 5 cups. So it doesn't take quite as much epoxy at all to get these top coats put on.
No.
Someone's getting in trouble. Which one is it? Any guesses? 2 chances. Sammy's playing video games. So it's the girl. She's the troublemaker. She's always the troublemaker. Alright. So that's the end of the epoxy for that first batch that we mixed up. So I'll finish up that last cup after we're done here, because I do want to get to pulling the winner from the contest that we had. So let me fire this up. And Chrissy, if you're still out there watching, if you have any questions, I'm certainly not I don't have all the answers for tumbler making, but if you want to chat, just shoot me a message, and I'm happy to share any of the knowledge I have and mistakes that I've already made, so to help you not make those mistakes since I've already made them. So I've literally used this tumbler so much that it's squeaking. Like, how does that happen? It just sounds like it's dying on me. Alright. Oh, it's really dying. I don't know, can you guys hear that? Alright. I use rubbing alcohol to clean my hands too. I think it's the only thing that, well, there's some other whites that I use too, but it's the only thing that takes the sticky of the epoxy off of my hands. Or I can use acetone, but it's pretty harsh. All right. So, so here's the finished product of the Beach Vibes plaque that we did last week. After the live was over, we let it dry, and then I went in with a black paint pen and painted in all of the areas. The paint pen was really easy to use because I was able to get into all of the little bends and finish it up. So that's what we're giving away today for those who shared the live last week. And I'm going to set this to the side here. So we have Christy Mateo is getting an entry. Holly DeStefano. Good luck, good luck. Kathy Alleman. Good luck, good luck. Lauren Perry. Fold them up. Katie Irwin. Thanks, Chrissy. And Kathy Foster. So thank you all for sharing the live last week. I very much appreciate it. So we'll shake it up, and maybe we could have a special little guest. Special little guest. Special guest. We're looking for a special guest. Gianna. All right, I'm gonna turn the camera down so you can see my little special guest. All right, can you pick one? Okay, Bubbles, pick one. Don't look, don't look. All right, let's see. And the winner is da 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 da. Chrissy Mateo, yay! Congrats. Christy, if you want to private message me your address, I can either deliver it if you're local or ship it in the mail to you. So congratulations, and thank you all again to those who shared, and thanks to all of you for joining today and getting dirty with me, and hopefully maybe I showed you something that if you watch any other YouTubers or tumbler makers, maybe won't show you on their lives. So until next Tuesday, see you back in the garage.